We could be looking at an energy crisis unrivalled since the 1970s. And the forecast that we saw today suggests that household incomes could fall by a larger percentage this year than at any time since records began in 1955.
So what Rishi Sunak gave last time around £350, and now we've had a tripling of energy costs already, would suggest that you think the Chancellor might or might not be a bit more generous this time round?
Well, I think he may need to do something. It depends on the scale of the challenge, but it looks as if this is going to be the most difficult economic year that we've seen in my lifetime.
A recession?
It could be. It could be. If you see the kind of inflation that's been predicted, potentially peaking at 8, 9 or 10%, and you're seeing this pressure on energy bills, not just for households, but also for energy-intensive industries and businesses, it's going to be very difficult. It also, I think, means that we need a more pragmatic energy policy where we balance all of our concerns, obviously net zero, which I'm personally very committed to, but also people's household incomes and energy security in a far more nuanced way than I think we've seen in recent years.
The sacrifice of war and all that, but also the idea of who makes up the shortfall, the moral imperative of all this. We're going to do business with Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela. That would not be, these would not be actions of choice, would they?
No, absolutely not. And there's only really two countries in the world today that have sufficient capacity to make a difference, and that is Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. The Prime Minister and President Biden are and should be on the phone to those countries, getting them to increase capacity. I personally would be very concerned about us doing a deal with the Ayatollah in Iran or with Maduro in Venezuela. Those two malign regimes, have a lot in common with President Putin. So relying on them to get us out of this situation is very worrying.
Look, at the end of the day, the only way to stop oil from being, or fossil fuels for that matter, from being used as an economic weapon is to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. And I think you heard very clearly from the president today, that's exactly what he intends to do. The goal is to decarbonize the economy, to diversify by investing in electrification of vehicles, by doubling down on wind and solar. Those are the kinds of products that cannot be weaponized against the United States and countries across the world.
But you've now clearly got to wake up and balance net zero with other competing demands, energy security and the pounds in the pockets of people in this country. And that, to me, means, of course, continuing to go hell for leather for renewables, which is, as you just heard, ultimately the way out of this and guaranteeing our security, but also maximising recovery of oil and gas in the North Sea, potentially
fracking.
Yeah, I personally was always a supporter of fracking. I don't think it's a quick fix, but I think we should be revisiting that question.